We're back again with our second video for YouTube, and I actually kick-started this video with our D1 Grand Prix China participation. So D1 Grand Prix China has a total of 5 rounds last year, and round 1, as you know, we rented a car for the weekend. We truly wanted to bring our car over to China ready for round 1, but we had so many obstacles, and with the change of regulations between Formula Drift and D1 Grand Prix, we had to actually change the shell. So anyway, I'll take you through the whole experience and activities which we conducted in preparation of D1 Grand Prix China, starting off with the engine rebuild and the parts heading over to China. Last year was a great experience for us, for me and my mechanic Singh actually, and I think we learned a lot, and our approach for this year will be completely different. But then again, I hope you enjoy the videos which we will put up. So coming up is round 2 and round 3, D1 Grand Prix China. So we reverted back to our original shell, which was the Formula Drift 29-2010 chassis. And we engaged Mr. Larry Cheng from Perpetually Tonka, who did most of the fabrication work. The major job would be to move the radiator out back, as we were trying to achieve a 50-50 weight split. Everything else was transferred over into our current shell for D1 Grand Prix, and all this done within a month. Got it loaded up, and we actually flew the car to China to our counterparts Apex. The car arrived on schedule, but it was in no position to run, as we had a blown engine and it was in dire straits of a rebuild. So we had parts coming in from the US, but it got stuck in customs, and we were lucky enough. Round 2, which was supposed to be in Shanghai, was actually cancelled and moved to Hangzhou, but we still couldn't make the schedule, and gave up round 2 and moved our focus to Qingdao. It took almost 9 weeks for our parts to clear customs, but when we got the news, we got on the first flight out to Shanghai to actually start work. It was 2 weeks away from round 3, and we had no time to waste. The car was in dire straits of a rebuild, and we had to do it ASAP. My mechanic Singh was actually down in Shanghai 2 weeks before to rebuild the engine, and that was when we got the news, and it was a full engine rebuild. So we moved from a 7-litre to a 7.2, so we had a new crankshaft, new rods, pistons, bearings, you name it. Basically the short block was brand new with carryover heads and intake manifold, in hopes to make more horsepower and more torque. The whole rebuild process went relatively smooth, so no major hiccups, and everything was to specification. So we were very happy with that. Engine went back into the car and actually fired up on its first crank. It sounded healthy and was ready for the dyno. So when I headed down to Shanghai with Singh, we still had loads of work to do. So one of it was the fender flares. The wheels can't actually stick out from the bodywork. This is part of D1's regulations. So we got some fender flares from basket fiber. It was meant for the rear of the car, but we retrofitted it to the front and made it work. So we got most of the bodywork done and ready. So it was time to hit the dyno. We had to end up using some Chinese fuel which nobody could give us any specification of. So anyway, we pumped it in, got it on the dyno, and basically started off with the run-in process before the tuner came to calibrate the engine. But all in all, the car ran pretty smooth during the run-in process, and we were happy with it. So the tuner spent a good hour on the dyno, and the results were super positive. We were very happy with it. Engine ran healthy, sounded healthy, no issues with cooling. All temp, water temp was all under control. It made 603 PS at the wheels with 808 Newton meter of torque, and all this out of a normal aspirator LS7. We still had loads of work to do that night, so we got her off the dyno. We did the wheel alignment, we cleaned her up, we put her on the scales for the first time. We were happy with the results. She was 50-50 weight split, which was what we were trying to achieve, and looks like we're ready for the game. So we all had a good night's rest and took the first flight out to Qingdao the next day. It was a domestic flight, a short flight. Qingdao is located by the seaside. So upon landing, we headed straight to the events ground. It's basically a big, wide open space with a very quick turn one. So it was going to be an interesting weekend for sure. So we all took the rest of the day off. We headed to the local market since Qingdao is located by the seaside. So we planned a barbecue seafood dinner. And Singh had a good day's rest. All of us had a good day's rest and basically charged up, ready for D1 Grand Prix Qingdao. So the weekend started with the usual driver registration, driver briefings, scrutineerings. The team was busy with the pit installation, making sure that the cars were ready for practice. And we got out during our first practice run, and my biggest concern was, if you look at the area which is shadowed by the building, that track surface is actually way slipperier versus the areas that was getting the sun. So we basically ended up with a circuit with two different surfaces throughout the weekend. But again, Jay was taking me through my runs. Singh was checking the car. I was overall very happy with it, and we got through practice one clean. We got the DOS fitted on after, ready for practice two, and the show was on basically. So we went out for practice two, and with the DOS unit on, so basically we were collecting data. We were averaging a 98 for most of our runs. We had one good run which was in the 99 bracket. So again, we were trying to understand where we were lacking and trying to achieve that 99 again for qualifying session, which was coming up. So we were very happy with our practice, and qualifying session was coming up. I was hoping really hard to hit a 98 on our first run so that we can push harder for our second. But then again, it didn't happen. We were in the 97 bracket, so which means we had our work cut out for run two. So with a 97, that secured our qualifying position in tandem. So we're heading to run two, and I had to focus on sector one and sector two. That's where we were lacking. So run two, we pushed it, or I pushed it super hard, trying to improve my score in both sector one and sector two. All in all, we actually had a better run, but we were still in the 97 bracket, so we were high 97s versus mid 97s. It was a bit frustrating actually, especially when we were hitting 98s and 99s in practice. But then again, this is drifting. You've got 2 shots at it, 2 runs for qualifying to qualify yourself. And the issue was I actually had 1 wheel off course. If you look at the replay, I'll break it down to you so you can actually see my wheel or 1 wheel actually off course, which called for a deduction. So Kamimoto, the judge of D1 Grand Prix, actually deducted our score by 2, so dropping us to a 95.94, which meant run 1 was our highest scoring qualifying score. We still made the cut, but my first battle was against Kawabata, so it's not going to be an easy tandem game trying to move up the charts all the way to the finals as we hoped for. So again, it was a tough one, and Kawabata is the world champion.
然后马来西亚的王台坤将对上日本王川电真人，
我有看头哦。
两个都是王。
台坤将能不能打破卡巴达的连冠呢？
已经2连冠的 D1 中国。
So Kawabata basically left me for dead right from the green light, and that caught me off guard big time. I was playing catch up all the way through. I didn't have enough forward traction to be able to close the gap, and I only managed to catch up on the last 2 turns, which wasn't enough. He definitely had an advantage over me moving into run 2.
这个车跑这个赛道很适合。
So from the replay, you can see that the gap was huge when we entered turn 1, and I had to reduce angle on the car just to try and close up that gap between me and Kawabata. He had a super quick car, and I was basically struggling with forward motion or forward traction. Managed to close that gap on the last 2 turns. That gave us a bit of an advantage, but all in all, we had an even run heading to run 2.
对，这样对腾坤家来讲不是个好消息啊。腾坤要稳住哦，来第2回合腾坤在前，好，把他在后。
So I decided to change it up for my lead run. So what I did was I reduced the entry speed so I can build or carry more speed into turn 1. But what that did was change the line into turn 1, and I basically put 1 wheel off course by doing so. And that would call for a deduction and immediately give the advantage to Kawabata, which meant he would have won the run 2. Again, it wasn't an easy one for us. We knew we were lacking with forward bite. Throughout practice, the car felt good, but actually running against Kawabata, that showed us on the advantage that the Japanese cars have, and we knew we had to change it up heading to our next round in Shenzhen. But we took notes. We basically understood our car. This is the first time we've actually ran this car after the rebuild. So in terms of performance, I would say it was a good package out of the box. We took our notes. We knew where we were lacking. We were on good ride tires as well for the weekend. And we will be changing it up to Achilles 123S, moving on to Shenzhen. There were some alignment changes which we made notes of as well, that would help us give us that forward bite. So looking forward for Shenzhen
下一组
actually.
也出来暖胎了。
It was a good weekend for us overall, where we learned our vehicle in competition. So that's it, folks. Our coverage of D1 Grand Prix Qingdao. See you in Shenzhen.